documentary, I, Aidan Trivett, will be exploring the progression in psychiatric care in England and Wales from the early 1900s to the early 2000s, delving into the history of treatment and understanding of psychiatric patients. Back in the early 1900s, life for those who had conditions such as psychosis and schizophrenia, etc., was difficult, as the modern advances in psychiatric healthcare and understanding we take for granted today simply didn't exist, making a wide array of conditions difficult to treat, causing those who were afflicted to lead difficult lives. Individuals with psychiatric conditions were primarily housed in county-run lunatic asylums. These asylums had a reputation for being overcrowded, with poor sanitation and using inhumane treatments. The mass construction of county-run asylums came about in England and Wales with the County Asylum/Lunacy Act in 1845. As a result, a total of 119 asylums were constructed in England and Wales, treating and housing roughly 100,000 patients. From 1904 to 1915, a distant relative of mine, Thomas James Trivett, was a patient at St Andrew's Lunatic Asylum in Norwich. He died there in 1915, aged 44 due to a stroke. Thomas suffered from a variety of health issues, including syphilis and heart problems. As seen on his medical records, he was admitted with chronic delusional mania. Since chronic delusional mania isn't a term used anymore, I decided to do some research to get a better understanding into his condition. However, I could not find any search results online for his condition, so I contacted and interviewed Dr. Claire Hilton. Claire is an honorary archivist at the Royal College of Psychiatrists in London and a former old age psychiatrist from 1998 to 2017. I asked her what condition she thinks Thomas suffered from, and here's what she had to say.
What we can say about his clinical presentation is that he was suffering from hallucinations and delusions. A hallucination being when you experience something real when it's not real, such as hearing voices. And he also experienced sensation of he heard or he was seeing bees in the air. He was smelling things, dust and odours, which got on his chest. He was feeling soda coming through his skin in that report. They weren't really, but they were. It wasn't even as feeling as if soda was coming through his skin. He was really, really experiencing it, which is a sign of what today would be known as a psychosis or a psychotic illness.
I see.
Of which there are a whole group.
Yeah.
It's at that level I wouldn't want to give a diagnosis.
How have things changed to today? From the beginning of the 20th century to the end of the 20th century, mental health care in England and Wales changed significantly, moving from lunatic asylums to community-based care and mental health units. This is due to the Mental Health Acts introduced in the 1950s and 80s. In the 1950s, new laws repealed previous mental health acts and established that entry to the hospital would be determined by medical grounds rather than legal ones. This marked a significant step towards a more humane and medicalised approach to mental health care.
Action.
Decades later, the Mental Health Act 1983 was introduced and became the primary legislation we use today for mental health care in England and Wales. The Act introduced the concept of consent as well as the rights of individuals with psychiatric disorders. To get a better idea of what mental health care was like by the end of the 20th century, I interviewed Christina Goodall, a retired nurse who used to work at Millbrook Mental Health Hospital in Sutton and Ashfield from 1990 to 2009, and here's what she had to say.
It was initially very laid back compared to midwifery where I'd previously worked. Patients' days were mainly laying in bed resting or smoking until more therapeutic relationships were built, and the nurse role and that of the patient as well became more interesting and more interactive. Well, the individual nurse, the patient had a named nurse, so they knew who was dealing with most of their care, or there could be the associate nurses. They, as I have said, were encouraged to speak openly and honestly about the experiences they were having, and the appropriate care would then be put into place in order to support them. They could be offered all sorts of different services at the time of then discharge, or whatever that would be most appropriate to them. The structured routine would be for those that were able, would be to get up at an appropriate time to attend the canteen for breakfast, returning to the ward hopefully with encouragement often to self-care. This would be followed by attending for their medication, and then they would disperse depending on whether they were going to attend day therapy if that was advised in their care planning, as some of the things that they would do in day therapy would be to structure their day in what they might do at home, etc. And they would have the opportunity, or those who didn't attend therapy, to do ward activities such as crafts, art, play Scrabble, depending on their levels of ability and their interest. And then their day would more or less follow with lunch, etc., afternoon, evening medications as required. Yes, there would be, some patients would have the opportunities to go out for walks. Occasionally they could be taken swimming. So as far as it was possible, depending on where they were regarding their illness, a structured day was planned for each individual through their care planning programme, which they would be given the opportunity to, as I've said previously, to participate in.
This brings us to the modern day, with a whole century of understanding and progression. From the lunatic asylums with a combined 100,000 beds, to care in the community with just 18,000 beds, arguably one extreme to another.
Oh, hey boss, what's going on?
Yeah, not enough time for that. Look, you're not meeting your cell goals again.
I'm trying, I really am.
Shut it, Mark. Okay? You're useless. You can never do your job right.
Look, I'm trying.
One job, Mark, one job. And you can't even do that, for God's sake. No, Mark, I've had enough. You suck. Did you know that? You're the most regrettable hire I've ever had.
Where you been? I've been waiting.
What are you wearing?
I thought you liked this shirt.
Is that some kind of sick joke? No, of course I don't like that stupid shirt, Mark. It's hideous and not appropriate for this kind of setting.
I can go back and change it if you want.
No, I'm hungry and I want to order. You're wearing it now, so you'll just have to look like a massive for now.
Anna, I'm really sorry.
No, Mark, you're not. Otherwise you wouldn't have worn that thing in the first place. I can't believe someone of my standard is with a tramp like you. You look like you've snuck into your grandma's wardrobe. And you know what? You smell like it too. When was the last time you had a shower? Because if I had to guess, it would have been never. I can smell you from here, and it's awful. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole restaurant could smell you too. Are you okay, Mark? Genuinely, because I'm starting to get concerned you're deranged or something.
Hi, Mum. What have you got to nag me for this time?
You'll never guess what I've just heard, son. What on earth were you thinking? A hideous shirt to a fancy dinner. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Anna left you after this ridiculous stunt.
You what?
Always causing trouble, aren't you, Mark? Jesus Christ, I don't know how I put up with you all these years. You know, Mark, your dad always said to not have kids. They'd ruin our life, and I'd convinced him he was in the wrong. But you know
You're
what?
having a giggle.
I've
You can't
started to
just say
think
that stuff.
he
You
was
don't
right.
know. Whatever. I'm better off dead.
Hey little lady, let's go outside. There's a whole lot of world and no reason to hide. Meet me in the setting sun, it will rise again with stuff to be done. Hey little lady, what do you say? Come and play with me the whole of the day. Hey little one, let's have some fun. Let's grace the face of this beautiful place. Some people like to wiggle little. Some people like to stagger when they walk. Some people like to twiddle on the fiddle. Some people like to pick an open lock. Some people like to hear the voices talk. Some people like to say good luck. Some people like to climb the beanstalk. Some people never really give a fuck. Hey little lady, let's go outside. There's a whole lot of world and no reason to hide. Meet me in the setting sun, it will rise again with stuff to be done. Hey little little lady, what do you say? Come and play with me the whole of the day. Hey, little one, let's have some fun. Let's play.
Mark?
Yeah, I was born 1960, so it was a different era then. Things were quite like young guys like yourself would see nowadays. My dad was a working class guy, had his own business, and very much had that attitude of, there was three of us. I've got two siblings, I've got my sister and I've got my brother. My brother was killed actually in his yard. And I kind of ended up getting resented because of that. So I was effectively the guy that whenever I got home from school, you got changed, you went down to his yard and you worked until it got dark. Then later on I left and I went in the army and progressed through various things. Then I damaged my knee and came out. Well, I was medically discharged, and I tried and fought them to get back in because I was playing ice hockey within 10 weeks, so there's obviously not that much wrong with my knee. And then I was offered do you fancy a really good challenge? And can you commit? And I said, well, yeah, I just want to get back in. I'd got no other plans for this was my life. And the sergeant gave me an address in Birmingham and a phone number to call a lady called Mrs. Bodger. And it turned out it was for the 23rd SAS in Birmingham. So I duly went down, had interviews, filled the recruitment stuff in, and commenced going to Wales and training with the regiment. After that, I kind of went down the line of a little bit more independence. I got offered a contract overseas doing exactly the same thing, obviously not in Ireland, for near a sort of £80 a week, which at the time, it was a hell of a lot of money. You know, when you consider that your take-home pay was £37, £38, you kind of, it'd be like doubling your wages now. And I turned up as a driver, and we got to the depot where we were going to be driving from, and a sergeant was apparently watching me and came over and went, "You're not a lorry driver, come with me." And I ended up on the other side of the scenario, where like basically, you know, here's an FN and follow me sort of thing. And that's kind of how the career went down that line, and obviously the money got better as the years went by, and I got a little older. I then came back to the UK, and I had fill-in jobs as I went along, different careers. And then I got offered basically a photograph with a name on the back, and the money jumped suddenly to several thousands of pounds. So I morally thought about this as, where is that moral line? What makes it worse to just pick the one person that you want to get rid of and get rid of that one person? There's no collateral damage, it's not you, it's not personal, it's the client that wants this job doing. And they were nearly always bad guys, they weren't like domestics or anything else like that. And then unfortunately I went down that line where I was being called in to do sort of what would probably now be called black bag operations, where we were just going to places to do jobs and then coming out. Make big bridges fit in small spaces kind of scenarios, intelligence gathering, and occasionally you had a target that had to be just taken out. It might be they want it to look like an accident, it might be that they want to make a point, so thereby it'll probably be more public. They might want that person to completely disappear, and there is no trace, there is no no nothing. The person just disappears off the face of the earth. And it was quite lucrative. And I moved to Southall in Nottinghamshire. And I bought a house on the river in Farndon. I had a place in Zimbabwe. And it was all going pretty well, but then I took a bridge too far and took one on that was a domestic. Initially, I thought this was going to be a debt collection job. So I met the client, which I never meet the client. The client had certain stipulations about someone that he wanted to dispose of. And I could see that this job couldn't happen because the risk fact there was no buffers between me and the guy, and the fact that someone says I'd never tell anybody, and you don't know how many people that guy's asked. If someone comes up to you and says, can you go and do this for me, how many people has he asked before you, because you're going to meet them all in court. The top and bottom of it was that we decided that rather than do the job, we'd convince him that we'd done the job. That way we would withdraw the funding that he had to do the job, so inadvertently saving this person's life. And hopefully he would realise that the world's not how he'd like it to be. But it didn't quite go that way. We managed to convince him that the job had been done, and using intelligence about items of jewellery and things like that, we convinced him that the job had been done. But the guy turned out to be rather a freakish guy. That we told him that we'd fed this person to the pigs. And he was really interested. Oh, what happened? And did they eat all the toes? And what do you do with the teeth? And I was like, whoa, what have I got into here? And then later on, naturally, found out this person was still alive and wasn't the happiest bunny in the world. So I told him, well, you gave me a description of a person at an address. And he'd got both the address wrong and the description wrong. We told him we'd done the person at the address that he told us. It's your problem, it's not my problem. He wasn't happy with this, and then somehow managed to, using other contacts, an ex-para, managed to find another guy that was basically a hitman that was coming over, and he gave him the contract on me with the ultimatum of, if this job's not done by this date, then this guy will automatically come after you. If that happened, I didn't know who this person was, so now the only way out was to get rid of the guy giving me the contract, but I couldn't. I actually went all the way down to Dorset to see where he kept his boat when I found out that this contract existed. I had a pregnant girlfriend at the time. I knew I would need to move her very quickly, so that resulted in the pregnancy being aborted. I've never had any kids, I've always wanted kids, so that, it was a price that you pay. But I couldn't take the guy out for the simple reason as I couldn't find out who this other hitman was, and basically, if he hadn't contacted him by this set date, the job was on. At some point as well, because of what happened, it resulted in this person getting blown up through me. The guy was quite insistent that he wanted an explosive device, and I didn't see the logic in this. There's a strange thing that happens, that if you kill someone and you do it by beating them to death, you could get 7 to 10 years. If you stab them, you might get 8 to 10 years. If you shoot them, you'll probably get 10 to 12 years. But if you blow them up, it's a telephone book. They're just, and so it was just a massive thing at the time, particularly as it happened in the middle of Sheffield. And I kind of still got the Guinness Book of Records for the largest peacetime bombing of Sheffield. But the thing was, it was so serious that they actually just threw the book at me. The media coverage was massive, and it resulted in getting a parcel. Well, we knew they were an antiques dealer that dealt with people in America, so I designed a package that looked like they'd come from America. It had the stamps on it. It was so authentic, the police genuinely thought it had come from America. It had the custom stamps and everything on it. Absolutely zero forensics on it. When we do a job like that, even the box that we get is picked up. It's put, using gloves, into a bag. The bag's then taped around the outside so nothing can ever contact the outside. The whole thing's done almost sterile. It was a particularly nasty it was a particularly nasty device as well. It contained nails, it contained fuel oil mixtures, which actually devastate skin. And then it was delivered by a courier. The reason that it was delivered to someone else, not them, is that if you come home and you're not expecting a parcel and you get a parcel and you've got a dodgy guy like him in your history, you might suspect the parcel. If your next door neighbour comes round and says, "Oh, this was delivered for you earlier," you tend to put that to one side. Luckily, this person was a little bit more switched on and decided to open it outside. But the second that they opened it, it exploded. It blew up. The arm, what was left of the arm had to be amputated. And the injuries were so intense that several days later they were complaining of a pain in their thigh. So the surgeons investigated and found half a pair of sunglasses, which gives you some idea of the destruction that this thing caused. They then had an intensive plastic surgery, and obviously they couldn't do anything about the arm. If I could turn back time and make it all right, I'd do it, but I just can't. I can only learn from it. And it was from that point on I stopped doing that kind of work. And the police investigated it, the serious crime squad. It was mentioned in Parliament. Counter-terrorism was on the television every hour for weeks. And there's nothing more disturbing than having your breakfast, watching the police look for you on the television. It's a vibe you don't really want to experience. But unfortunately, we knew he'd be the first guy, and he basically grassed us all up and said that I'd been threatening him and one thing and another. And as a result, I ended up getting sentenced to 3 12-year sentences, total 36 years, and sent to maximum security prison. And as a result of going to prison, I made a decision that actually, from now on, instead of doing this stuff, because I had such extensive knowledge, I would now protect people from it happening to them. Which gave me an opportunity, because whilst in prison, I didn't do workshops. I basically did education all the time, and at one point was helping train people to do graphic design. But I was speaking, I knew what I was going to be doing, so I would spend literally hours and hours with some of the most well-known criminals in the country, asking them how they did what they did, if they might be a bank robber. So you'd ask them, "Well, how do you plan a bank robbery?" Not quite as blunt as that. And they would tell you how you got around the alarm systems, how you could work out what safes they were, how you worked out the CCTV and everything. Then I'd talk to people that were scammers, I'd talk to people that were terrorists, I'd talk to people that were like kidnappers and people that were housebreakers, and then people down the food chain, like people that just were basically robbers and armed robbers. Which meant that when I set up a security business, when I looked at a building, I was looking at it with that wealth of knowledge of how. I was frequently pulled up for it. You spend longer outside than inside, but the other companies do it the other way around. Well, no one's going to break in from the inside. Obviously, there's certain security measures we need to look at. So I would look at a building and go, how would I achieve what they want to stop? And I would make it so you couldn't do it. Obviously, I couldn't start a security business coming out of prison because there's certain restrictions, because mine were Category 1 offences. So in the same category as murder. And they did try and pin a few others on me. I was interviewed over 5 contract killings, but for obvious reasons the only one I was convicted of was this one, so I'm afraid it's the only one that I can actually talk about. But the kind of ethos was really to try and help people. So I was doing bodyguarding overseas and that kind of thing because they didn't require the licensing, and I had the contacts. I was contacted by various old contacts that said, like, you know, here's 50 grand check, come over here, we'll sign it, you do a job for us. But I knew I wasn't going back down that line. After around about 10 years, I applied for my SIA licence to be a door supervisor, just to tickle the feet, see how I could get on. I had to literally sit in front of a panel to get it. You know, it was a very serious offence for them to get it. Within the next 10 to 15 years, I'd been running a security business. It was the largest one in the East Midlands. One of the largest ones in the East Midlands. We were doing bodyguarding, we were doing military contracting overseas, we were doing normal door supervisors, we were doing events, concerts, we were guarding some really well-known names. and I ended up being an envoy for the SIA, and also became an approved contractor status, which is as far as you can really go with that particular part of the industry, the Security Industries Authority. And I continued along that line, doing some very interesting work. I worked 21 hours a day, 7 days a week for 14 years, but it wasn't for the money. I absolutely loved what I did.
She's just a girl who claims that I am the one. It's freezing out here. Your mum would have hated that. Do you want to talk about it?
Talk about what?
Don't be daft. It's not like anyone's died. I need laugh at that. It's fine. It's fine. You know, that was the most eventful funeral I've ever been to. I'm serious, you know.
Really?
Really. I mean, you stole the show. I've never seen someone cling to a casket so tightly before.
I don't want to say goodbye.
I know.
I wish I could go back.
So what would you do then?
What?
If you could go back, what would you do?
I'd come home and say sorry. She'd hug me and we'd probably start to cry. And then she'd say something really stupid and we'd start to laugh.
She loved you more than anything, you know.
She died thinking I hate her.
Your mum would never think.
How would you know that, Dean?
You're being daft again.
I know I am. I just don't know what to do.
There's nothing you can do. Well, I'm not lying, am I? You can't go back. You can't change the past. It just is how it is.
That's such bullshit.
I know.
Can she went peaceful?
Knowing your mum, probably not. She's probably up there complaining right now, actually.
Don't surprise me either.
You know, it's almost time to lay her to rest.
I'm not ready.
Then don't come. I mean, either way, it's happening.
You're such a weird word.
I'll see you there.
What if you don't?
I will.
Hi Mum, I know you can't reach me, whatever, but I want to tell you that I'm sorry for leaving that day. I wish I stayed before you. I'm sorry Mum, I have to go now. I just want you to know that I love you. And I'll see you when I see you.
You think you have it rough? Try being me for a day. I'm not trying to compete. I'm just trying to understand. Understand? You sit there and do nothing. Well, I'm out here struggling every single day. Struggling with who? The people around you or yourself? I don't know anymore. You can talk to me. You know that. I try to look strong, but it's just exhausting. It's okay to let things happen. I just need time to reflect. I can't do this anymore. I know, but that's why I'm here to help. It's not easy. I'm angry. That's why I started shouting at you. Don't worry. I know you're not doing it on purpose. No, it's not fair. You're just trying to help. It's okay. No! Everyone's starting to avoid me now because of my behaviour. We'll get out of this together. No, this isn't fair. You're just trying to help. Maybe, but I'm here anyway.
Earlier today at school, everyone was on about that new concert. It's meant to be really good.
Help me. Yeah, what time you get into that job tomorrow? No, I just want it done.
Hi.
You what? Don't mess me about. Mate, I sent you money last week. I've already paid you to do the job, and now you're letting me down. Send me money back, and I'll sort it.
A concert might cheer you up.
For God's sake! If I don't get this job done, I'll not be able to afford the bills. Never mind your concert. Get dogging, will you?
Dross. Dross?
I can't believe you've managed this. All that I asked is for you to get the dog in.
I'm sorry, but I thought he was out there.
Oh, so it's my fault again. You're just like your mother. You go that way, and I'll go this way.
But... Dross. Dross? Dross? Ross?
Yo, I'm going to show you places where you went when you was little.
Alright, let's go.
When you first left me, I was wanting more, but you were fucking that girl next door. What'd you do that for? When you first left me, I didn't know what to say. I never been on my own that way, just sat by myself all day. I was so lost back then, but with a little help from my friends, I found a light in the tunnel at the end. Now you're calling me up on the phone, so you can have a little wine and a moan. It's only because you're feeling alone. At first, when I see you cry, yeah, it makes me smile. Yeah, it makes me smile. At worst, I feel bad for a while, but then I just smile. I go ahead and smile. At first, when I see you cry, yeah, it makes me smile. Yeah, it makes me smile. At worst, I feel bad for a while, but then I just smile. I go ahead and smile. At first, when I see you cry, yeah, it makes me smile. Yeah, it makes me smile. At worst, I feel bad for a while, but then I just smile. I go ahead and smile.
Right. Yeah, don't worry. Ask a bit.
Are you Alan?
Depends who's asking.
Name's Rich. Heard you could do a job for me. I need you to steal this car.
You serious?
Everything you need's in there. Half up front, half when you get the job done. How's that sound?
Good for the rest, yeah?
Of course.
They don't mean nicking your car, do you?
Definitely not. You want to explain what you're doing in my house?
Some guy told me to come here to steal a car or something.
What guy?
Rich Carter.
Quiet.
Rich?
Hello, Alan.
Is this some kind of joke?
Seems I can't trust you after all.
What? Set me up?
Keep your mouth shut.
What are you doing?
I'll have to shut it for you.
You can't be serious. You can take the money back, I don't need it. Rich! Rich!
Get out there. Get active. The way cancel culture has evolved is due to a lack of empathy that we have for one another, because it's not just about having empathy for maybe a marginalized group that is being attacked or wronged in some way by maybe hate speech or insensitivity, etc. Those social causes are really just
shrouding it up under.
We as the next generation of adults have seen a massive shift in terms of tolerance and progressive behaviour. It wasn't just long ago when we were preaching tolerance, empathy and freedom of self-expression between one another.
Empathy is a learned human response through face-to-face interactions. What we're losing through social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, gaming, we're losing empathy. The kids are not learning that. The example, so I used to play the game Diablo, okay? So I couldn't beat up people on real life. But in Diablo, this game, I would make this portal where I would make all these creatures hang around the portal and then cry out for help, like, you know, the boy that cried wolf.
Yes.
Come help me, help me. This innocent person comes in, tries to help me, goes down there, all the monsters kill him. But as the monsters kill him, he drops all his items. I go down there and steal all his items because it was fun to make him beg for the items.
Right, stuff you would never do in real life.
Right.
Our generation has had to bear witness to one tragic event after another, with the effects getting worse and worse each time.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. Air raid sirens ringing out here in Kyiv and cities across this country as Russia launched a full-scale invasion on multiple fronts in the early hours of this morning.
A terrifying 24 hours. The fire grew at an extraordinary speed, flames raging out of control as hurricane-force wind battered the coast.
Our generation is experiencing a form of anime. Lack of social interaction due to tragic events led us to depend on online social interactions. These online social interactions then led us to be desensitized and form a lack of empathy towards situations of others. Does that sound familiar to you? Our generation is experiencing a form of anime. Lack of social interactions leading to dependence on social media. Anime eventually leads to the fundamental belief that parts of our society are collapsing, which eventually leads us to treat each other in ways that fulfill it. It's a self-fulfilling ideology. So in your experience, would you say that Gen Z is experiencing a lack of empathy?
I would, yeah, definitely. I think I've seen this problem coming for some time, and it's gradually got worse and worse over the years. I don't know if it's so much to do with COVID and more to do with the internet and the use of mobile phone usage and stuff like that.
Do you think there are any factors at play that lead to a lack of empathy?
Yes, I do, especially at the moment with social media being one of the big problems, the internet. People's mobile phone use and the fact that people believe a lot of the social media that's being posted out there, and this social media is being posted by who are remaining anonymous as well, which is a problem, so they don't have to take any responsibility for giving out that false information that people are believing. So in a way you could think it's associated to a cult in a way, and that for me is a big concern moving forward, because I can't see how that's going to change very much in the future.
Do you think that the growing lack of empathy will affect us in the future?
Without a doubt, yeah. I can't see how it won't affect you. The problem is, I can't see how it's going to get better. For me, it's only going to get worse because of the use of mobile phones, the amount of time people spend on them, and the lack of interaction between people in real life. Everything's done now on a mobile phone or through the internet. There is no real interaction unless you're forced into it.
So how exactly do we stop this? The world just doesn't seem to be getting any better, and going on our phones just seems a lot easier. Well, we can start by having a face-to-face conversation. I mean, we did it all the time online, so it can't be that hard in real life, right? Or you could just ignore my advice and go on your phone, because really, who actually cares? Welcome to Believe It or Not. I'd like to start the episode with just a quick question. What do celebrities, the media and the government all have in common?
I'm sure we're all wondering, where do aliens come from?
A very secret and remote location.
Are celebrities involved with the Illuminati?
What exactly is the Illuminati? Our show is about conspiracy theories after all.
The origins of ghosts can be traced back to a multitude of religions and beliefs into life after death.
It was started by Adam Weishaupt, who was inspired by a group called the Freemasons and the French philosophers at the time.
The Jolly Red Man that we often see on Christmas is based on the German and Dutch traditions of St. Nicholas, who was a real figure back when Nero was around, circa 270 AD.
A ghost hunter. Her name is Stacey and she works with people like Daz Games and even Sam and Kobe. I don't think we need to even explain who they are.
Yeah, anyways, let's watch that.
But I think the main ones, you've got funnel ghosts. They're also known as vortex ghosts. They will move objects, they'll tap on walls, knock on walls, whisper, talk, laugh. Very, very interactive.
I mean, we've fought many lawsuits to get her into Believe It or Not today. Let's welcome our alien guest.
Hiya.
Hello.
So introduce yourself to us and the viewers.
Well, considering the amount of powerful people that exist, all these different politicians and how so many people get outed for their crimes, but yet they still connect to other people, I think that's why I choose to believe the facts.
Additionally, in ancient Egypt, there are drawings of an unhuman-like pharaoh. Many assume he wasn't human because of the artwork we discovered of him and his daughter. In the artwork and recreation of their faces, it looks insanely similar to the image we created around aliens, which confirms that the belief of aliens go even further back than we even imagined.
That honestly sounds a bit unrealistic to me.
Well, I suppose it's down to whether you believe it or not.
That's not even the end of the show.
Working at Pitt, it was a very family orientated job. If your dad worked there, you were guaranteed a job as his son, and that's there it was. In that case, you know what I mean? It was very family orientated.
We all came from a local village called New Ufton and the next village called Plesley. So my father's worked in the mine, his father worked in the mine, my mother's father worked in the mine, uncles, cousins, friends. When you left school, everybody worked in, you know, that was a thing to do, to go down the mine, worked at Plesley Colliery.
I applied for Pitt years ago, way before strike, but my dad didn't actually work at Pitt. I got on through my uncle. So that's why I got on after strike, because after strike, that's when they were looking for more men to take on, like, so that's how I got my job.
I was working before the strike, about 4 years, 5 years. Moved on to Sharbrook, and that was making a profit. And then we got told it was going to close, so the morale was really bad.
On news programmes during the strike, there are a lot of problems with picket workers on picket lines trying to stop miners going to work, and it was very violent in times.
Well, basically the Sharbrook 10 come about. There were 10 of us at New Ufton, and at the time, in the mining strike, there was a local engineering firm down Plesley Vale what was having mesh welded to the windows to take the working miners into the mine. So basically we went down and we set fire to them. Put car windows through, everything to try and stop the working miner going to work. There was one person in New Ufton, he was building an house, and he was putting 100 bricks a day up, going into work. By the time he'd come home, we took 150 down. But at the time, we thought we was making headway. We was trying to stop the power stations, the coal stations getting coal, so it could cut the electricity, and we was winning at one stage until the Nottinghamshire miners wouldn't come out on strike with us. They wouldn't help us. So this is where we had the battle with the Nottinghamshire miners.
I'd have probably worked through strike because I'd have been in the Notts mining regime, and 75% of Notts miners voted to work, not to strike. Derbyshire and Yorkshire miners voted to strike, and it were them that they were coming into Nottinghamshire to try and stop the Nottinghamshire miners going to work that didn't want to strike. So at the end of the day, people are in their own situation. Some people might have to go to work for the money, you know what I mean?
At the time, I was fighting for my future, and I was fighting for my job, and that's all I knew at the time, and that's all we was bothered about. The local village, it was about the comradeship. The local village would be destroyed if it all come collapsing down, which, well, it did eventually.
You've only got to look at the villages around here. Since pits shut, shops shutting, pubs shutting, everything's shutting. People just ain't got the money we used to have when we were at pit. It's diabolical.
Our village is just not the same. It took not just the miners. There was a local people what supplied to the local pit, and it ruined our village. It's absolutely ruined our village. But yeah, that's how it is, unfortunately.
Well, our country, I mean, I don't think they've ever been the same, to be sure. But I don't think I'll see it in my time. I think mines will open again. Yep. I love my job at pit. I'd go back tomorrow if it was still here, and I wish it was still here, because, you know what I mean, it's like for my sons, they could have been stepping in the shoes now and had a good job, you know what I mean?
The miners, if they'd have been united, would have never been defeated.
Hey, what's up? What are you talking about? No, I'm not meant to be into work today. I wasn't even in on Wednesday. Right, yeah, I'll get there as soon as possible. Alright, see ya. Hello? Mate, no, I can't come mini golf today. No, I've got work. No, I can't come, right. See you in a bit. Bye.
There is no honor in killing insects.
Imagine a journey where simplicity meets freedom, a bike small enough to fold into a bag, yet capable of taking you wherever the roads lead. This is Brompton Touring, compact, efficient and surprisingly powerful, a new kind of adventure on two wheels. Bike touring is magical, a passport to the unexpected and total discovery. There is no huge plan required, just a little curiosity and a sense of adventure. In a world that never slows down, this is a chance to breathe. No traffic, no timetables, just the rhythm of your pedals and the feeling that you're exactly where you're meant to be. You don't have to go far to find something meaningful. Just a few miles from home is enough to reconnect with nature, with peace, with yourself. With a little bit of planning, it's easier to organise than what you would expect, and it's a lot of fun too. I like to use the Sustrans maps, searching for all those places I've not already visited. On this occasion, I realised that I had not cycled the Rebellion Way from Thetford to King's Lynn. Wind direction makes a big difference. A headwind can make riding a bit of a slog, so after checking the forecast, which showed winds from the south shifting east later in the week, I planned to ride north for the first few days and then head west. I then plan each overnight stay, clearly set out on a document which I take on the tour. That way, I have everything at hand, even in areas where mobile signal is poor. Also, it's a good backup should technology fail. This is my camping list, which I have perfected over the years. Using highlighters, I mark where everything is, and I go room by room picking up each item and lay it out on the floor. Packing is part of the fun. Everything you need and nothing you don't. A tent, a stove, a change of clothes, a couple of cameras to capture the good stuff. The campsites are marked, the weather is checked, cash is ready for the showers, and we're off. The journey begins the moment you leave home. Even the train ride is part of the adventure, relaxing, peaceful, just watching the world go by. Fields stretch out in vibrant greens, skies brushed with soft blues and the occasional fluffy cloud. You might spot a deer darting through the trees, pheasants strutting near the tracks, or crows gliding low over freshly sown fields. Out in the distance, farmers plough the lands as red kites glide above, circling effortlessly, keeping watch from the sky. As the sun begins to dip behind the trees, setting up camp after a day cycling and exploring couldn't be simpler. The tent goes up in just a few minutes, leaving time to unwind with a nice cup of tea, soaking in the peaceful evening atmosphere. On this adventure, I brought 2 thick sleeping bags and plenty of warm clothes to make sure we stay comfortable and fully enjoy the experience under the stars. It's just fantastic. For cooking, we've got the trusty Tranger stove, brilliant bit of kit, cooks just about anything you fancy making, and for quick brews we bring along the jet boil too. It boils water in no time and it's perfect for making a hot drink without the wait. Included in the food supplies, I packed a homemade pancake mix with eggs, flour and milk, perfect for the first morning's breakfast.
Making pancakes. Look at that. Ta-da!
For the rest of the trip, I planned ahead by pinpointing shops along the route to each campsite, stocking up on essentials for the evening and subsequent morning's breakfast.
Our own chickens actually only started laying yesterday. But we don't know how old, they caught us by surprise. We don't know how long they've been laying for. So these are bought ones.
Bless
They'll be
you.
right.
Thank you very much.
We'll add it to the tin in the morning with the logs.
And the honey. We're going to have some honey as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And of course, one of the best things about bike touring is that you're never short of beautiful spots to stop for a break. Another thing I always tend to prepare for such travels are my homemade rock cakes and a load of flapjacks. They travel well and are absolutely delicious on such occasions.
So the weather's turned a little bit rainy. We're 6 miles away from Spalding, so not too bad. I've brought with me plastic gloves, which work a treat in the rain, keeping my hands dry. Coming into Spalding now. It's a little bit rainy.
When I first started planning this trip, I had expected today to be wet. It is no fun turning up at a campsite wet through and then being miserably cold with no way of drying out. Experience has taught me that on these occasions it's best to book a bed and breakfast where you can get a hot shower, dry off, go out in the evening, have a comfortable bed to sleep in and also a cooked breakfast before setting off the next day.
See, no one ever remembers any other band. It's just, cool, it's his hair, it's, you know, his attire. Right. So give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot of
A bike touring adventure is a great way of connecting with nature, making priceless memories along the way. Forget all the pressure of having to get active, fitness, diet or strict routines. This is about stepping outside, feeling the fresh air, seeing nature, animals, plants, listening to the birds, smelling the pine trees or the blossom and flowers, and letting nature wake up your senses. Bring what you have, start where you are, and let the road take care of the rest. Let your journey begin.
Once upon a time, literature was one of the few ways one could express themselves. Things such as writing, reading, and painting were sacred forms of art. They were treasured and cherished by society, old and young generations alike. Years later, technology emerged. People began prioritising temporary materials like phones, computers, and TVs, due to society's inexorable need to consume. Over time, we have seen the inevitable downfall of value in physical items, such as books and literature altogether. In our generation, it is becoming a grave problem.
My screen time for about last week was over 10 hours.
My screen time is 9 hours and 43 minutes.
Well, per day, probably about 7 to 8 hours.
Instagram is mainly my most used app.
Probably TikTok, Snapchat.
Probably about 3 or 4 years ago was the last time I read.
God knows when.
Probably a few years ago.
It's evident that a lot of young people do not find reading and literature valuable anymore. The US Book Reading Statistic 2025 survey have found that 34.6% of teenagers ages 8 to 18 have reported enjoying reading, which is the lowest amount recorded since first asked all the way back in 2005. The culprit for this decline is unmistakably social media.
Since the inception of the internet, what's that done is it's opened up a kind of portal or a gateway, if you like, into everything, if you like, in terms of art and in terms of film and stuff like that. Meaning that, say for instance, if we look at the area of film, pretty much, if you want to, you can somewhere on the internet you might be able to find just about any film you want. However, by the same token, I think what's happened is, though, I think there is the case where people don't explore. I tend to go back to the same thing.
Well, there's so many different ways to explore kind of media and literature and art, and it's at your fingertips in a way that it didn't used to be. So the impulse to dive into another world, which is a big part of literature, is much weaker because you can access that same impact and that same feeling from watching videos or playing games on the go, so why sit and read? The way that exams are set up is we have to do a lot of 19th century literature, and a lot of that literature is really important in terms of the grand scheme of how we've developed in our communication and things like that, but it's also losing a lot of relevance to students in the modern age.
Some may argue, but reading is not that important. Of course, all are entitled to their own beliefs. However, there's an undeniable damage being done to our future generations due to this lack of interest in Gen Z's seemingly uncaring nature. It is eroding people's comprehension skills and media literacy. But more importantly, this unwillingness to read can lead to a lack of understanding of the real world and society, which we all are a part of.
Literature is our shared history. It is like the wealth of human experience. It's a way to help us kind of learn lessons from our past and build dreams for the future. I mean, if you look, even if you just went onto Amazon and looked at a search for the Holocaust and see the volume of books that are available on themes of the Holocaust and things like that, that's such a huge part of our human experience.
In a survey made by the Centre for Humane Technology, many TikTok users said that the ideal TikTok length is 21 to 34 seconds long, and videos longer than that are considered stressful. It is no wonder teenagers cannot comprehend or handle the amount of time it takes to read and consume literature, as on average it takes 12 minutes to read one chapter of a book, a length that to some, without background technology, seems never-ending, torturous and mundane.
And so, as an example of documentary filmmaking, I screened the movie Grizzly Man by Werner Herzog. A lot of the students said that is so boring, it's so slow, it's so somber, it's so depressing, it's so... I mean, the idea of the film that it's supposed to be a bit like that. Students instantly wrote that off as being boring and too slow, and I think that's kind of an example of that, where they want things delivered quick and in little packages of entertainment.
Price tags will tell you that your phone costs more than a couple of pieces of paper with some ink on them, but that does not mean that your phone is more valuable than literature and art. Books and writing date back to the very beginning of time. Literature is something that preserves history in its most pristine and pure form. It is one of, if not the most emotionally charged form of art. Writers such as Desire Usami, Franz Kafka and many more are able to teach you more about the perception of life and human emotions than any influences ever will. Because the pages that writers create are their real, rawest and most fragile sentiments laid out on paper, for others to read.
Before technology took over, people grew up reading such books, which moulded them into wiser, more emotionally intelligent individuals.
I tend to look at art as like not just being this hierarchical thing where art's right at the top and art's like the avant-garde or the classical or the great works of art. And looking at it like that, I think art is as important as food or oxygen or to live. I think it's like referring to another movie reference, Peter Weir's Dead Poets Society, for instance, the speech that Robin Williams says when he said, you know, this is why, what the poets say and what, you know, that's why we're here, that makes life.
And I read a book every night before I go to bed. I listen to audiobooks when I'm out walking the dog or if I'm driving somewhere. And it genuinely brings me a sense of joy and a sense of comfort. And I worry, my concern, because literature does mean so much to me, is just around how much people are missing out on. It's not angry, or you're just wasting your life scrolling on TikTok, because I've done that, but you're actually missing out on a whole other world just by only engaging with one format.
Well, it's like expression of emotions just being smacked onto a piece of paper and being able to see it without having to say words about it.
It doesn't really have a certain meaning to me, it's just more diverse.
Could be anything, I'm not gonna lie.
But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. To quote from Whitman, "O me, O life of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish."
One, two, three, My baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure. But does she really wanna, but can't stand to see me walk out the door? Don't try to fight the feeling, cause the thought alone is killing me right now. Thank God for mom and dad for sticking together, cause we don't know how. Come on. You think you got it, oh, you think you got it, but got it, just don't get it till there's nothing at all. We get together, oh, we get together, but separate's always better when there's feelings involved. If what they say is nothing is forever, then what makes love the exception? So I